in all ways that mutually benefit both nations through economic development, culture, and education. Our goal today is to build a long-standing cooperation between Greece and the United States and further enhance the bonds of friendship between our countries. And now, my friends, it's my pleasure and my honor to introduce to you our panel, and I will begin with His Excellency Congerss Lalakos, the Ambassador of Greece to the United States. It's our pleasure to have you here in Tartar Space, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my distinct pleasure to be here. It's my first time in Tartar Springs, and of course, it's a duty for every Greek diplomat and every Greek ambassador, I think, to be here if they can. It's a part of the country with a very high, perhaps the highest concentration of Greek origin citizens. It's also an area where Greece is maintaining a career consulate general. One out of our 8 consulates in the United States is here in the Tampa Bay area, and we are the only country in the world which is having a career consul general present in Tampa. As you know, most countries have their consulates in Miami, not this part of the state. And this was a conscious decision that was taken less than 2 decades ago, and it was spearheaded precisely by the fact that here we have such a large concentration of Greeks and such a vibrant Greek community, maintaining all the customs of Greece and being world famous. For a small city, I think this is fair to say that Tartar Springs is world famous, if not for anything else, at least for one thing, the Epiphany celebration. So it's lovely to be here. It's great also, it's a great honor for me to be in a town hall which is presided by a Greek-born mayor and somebody who has striving continuously very hard for the advancement of relations between the two countries. And I'm particularly grateful to be once more near Bilirakis. Congressman Bilirakis is, I think it's very, very safe to say, the greatest friend that Greece has on the Hill in Washington. He's doing a tremendous work. He has a deep respect and a deep love for Greece and the Greek people, the Greek Americans, and he's always eager to help. Usually, embassies in Washington, not just the Greek embassy, but all the embassies, are trying very hard and often pay lobbying money in order to facilitate their relations, their access to the Senate and the House. In our case, with Bilirakis, it's usually the opposite. He comes first to us to ask, how can we help? What can we do? And we appreciate this very much. So, Mr. Mayor, you want to...
No, thank you. I'd like to introduce the panel as well, if you don't mind. I'd also like to introduce the Honorable Dimitrios Sparos. He is the Consulate General of Greece here in Tampa. He is very well known in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just add just a few things to what the ambassador said. Thank you for hosting us. It's a great honor for us to be here again, and especially in this position. As the ambassador said, Greece always remember this area, always has a particular respect for this area because it is a community, a long-standing community, which still has close relations to the motherland, and this is something we appreciate a lot. That's why the consulate was founded here in Miami, as the ambassador said. Because of this, this is maybe the best place to to serve as an example for the rest of the United States to give a kickstart again to the Greek culture. I think that there is no better place than Tarpon Springs for that. About this thing, I already talked with a lot of you, and I hope we have a cooperation during the next years. I'll be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And to my right is our friend, the Honorable Gus Bilirakis, the United States Congressman, who needs no introduction.
Thank you very much. Makute, you're not having any problems hearing, are you? Is everything okay? Okay, very good. Well, I want to welcome the ambassador to Nefteri Elada. And it's true. And we are very proud to have you here, Mr. Ambassador. He's doing an outstanding job on behalf of our Elada, and we have a good ambassador. Well, unfortunately, he's retiring, but on behalf of Kipro. So we work very hard for our Elada and our Kipro. Mr. Ambassador, I was born in Gainesville, Florida, but raised in Tarpon Springs, Florida, and I'm very blessed to have been raised here. I brought George Sigunas, not Sigunas, Sigunas. He's a Guarda. He is the head of HRSA in the Trump administration, and I invited him to Epiphany just this last year, and then he came down again just last week because we want to expand our community health center here in Tarpon Springs, dental health, substance abuse, and mental health. So I brought him down to Tarpon Springs, but before he came for the official visit, he and his wife came for Epiphany, and they're both born in Greece, and they just fell in love with the area. They couldn't to be there for the Epiphany celebration. They were just so pleased, and his wife told me, you know what, we had built a house in the Washington area, unfortunately, because I would love to live here. But in any case, it's Tarpon Springs, but the whole greater Tarpon Springs area, including Clearwater, Dunedin, I can go on in Pasco County. We have dignitaries here as well. Christo, I'm not sure if you want to introduce them or not. We have the president of St. Petersburg College. Okay, good. Okay, and I want to work with her on building a Greek center, Hellenic center, here in the Tarpon Springs campus. So in any case, I have some prepared remarks. Again, good morning, and thank you for being here. I appreciate it so very much, and I welcome the Consul General and the Ambassador. As co-chair of the Hellenic Caucus, I always look for ways to enhance the U.S.-Greek relationship, particularly through economic development and cultural ties. Many of you in the audience are Hellenes and Phil-Hellenes, and thank goodness for the Phil-Hellenes as well. You all have a role to play in being goodwill ambassadors on behalf of Greece. I will tell you, Greece and Cyprus needs us now more than ever, ladies and gentlemen, and the best thing we can do, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, is to be goodwill ambassadors and speak so positively of our Lada and our Kipro to Hellenes, but also Phil-Hellenes. And that means investment in Greece, and I know that the ambassador will get into that. Obviously, I've spent a good deal of time working to enhance defense security, energy security, and immigration security matters on behalf of our Lada. Through my work in Congress, Greece has engaged in bilateral agreements between the United States and Israel in a way that makes Greece an important geopolitical strategic partner in the Eastern Mediterranean. I think it always was, but it's even stronger now. With the discovery of hydrocarbons in Greece's territorial water and the EEZ, Greece could one day soon become a net exporter of energy. As a matter of fact, A couple of years ago, I led a U.S. delegation to Greece and Cyprus, and we talked about that very issue because I serve on the Energy and Commerce Committee. We also are working to expand the role of U.S. military assets in Suda Bay, which would be a huge economic boom for the area. I'm sure you agree, and I know we have some kritiki in the audience. What a beautiful place. Further enhancing Greece's economy is the growing partnership with Israel, America's best friend in the Middle East. Israeli tourists to Greece over the past several years has increased exponentially, helping boost Greece's fledgling economy. I think you're aware of that. Even while helping boost Greece's financial footing in Congress, we most recently have focused on Greece's cultural significance by introducing the Parthenon Marble Resolution. Those ancient artifacts belong to Ελλάδα. For millennia, Greece has been enlightening the world through politics, the sciences, the arts, and culture. And ladies and gentlemen, I know that I don't want to get into politics too much, but there are other countries, specifically Turkey, that has a strong lobby in Washington, D.C. But we have, and I'm not saying that we disagree with them on everything, but we have our people. We have our people because of our grandparents. My grandfather had a bakery in Tarpon Springs down the road, and this was our school, our middle school, and I used to walk to the bakery every day. And so we have our grandparents, our parents, who have formed this wonderful reputation around the country, around the United States of America, and we need to be engaged. We really need to be goodwill ambassadors on behalf of, they need us now, as I said, more than ever. So that's why Chris and I did this forum, and we wanted to give our great ambassador the platform to speak and encourage us to be involved. I also want to have a partnership, and we do have the sister cities, but I also want to have a partnership how we can benefit our community here in the Tampa Bay area and partner with Greece on that. So in any case, I'm sorry it took so long, but this is very important to you and all of us here. We're all on the same team. So and God bless you, and I'll be here for another 45 minutes, then I have to get on a plane to go to Washington. Ευχαριστώ.
Thank you, Congressman Bilirakis. With us also we have Maria Kyriakidou. She's a translator from the Greek Consul General Office in Tampa. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Also with us today we have the Honorable Leonidas Raptakis, State Senator from Rhode Island, who is my fellow commissioner, the Honorable Receiver. Dr. Williams, the President of St. Petersburg College. She's not only a good friend of education, but she's also a good friend of Tarpon Springs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Davis, the Provost of St. Petersburg College of Tarpon Springs campus. Congratulations. He just got the position, and we're so glad to have you. Thank you. With us also we have Yanis Tsifas, the captain from the Greek Navy. Next, we're going to go to the agenda that we're going to be talking about, and because the allowed time for this forum is only 1 hour, we're going to hold the public comments to the end of the agenda. The item number 1, which is so important to all of us, is economic development exchange, investment and exporting. On this item, we need to discuss the ways that we can encourage, insist, and streamline economic development investments and exporting between Greece and here in the United States. For example, as Congressman Bilirakis just said, we have our sister cities, and there are 3 small islands, Kalinos, Simi, Kalki, and of course Larnaca of Cyprus. Well, the small islands are facing difficulties and obstacles to export the limited goods that they're producing. We are looking at ways to reduce the bureaucracy. How we're going to cut the red tape so these people can actually export the goods that they have here in the United States, so we can help, so that way we can enhance their local economy. So that's the main subject that we're going to be talking about today. With that, I'd like to start with the Ambassador Lalakos.
Κύριε Δήμαρχε, κύριε Βουλευτά, αγαπητοί συμπατριώτες και αγαπητοί φίλοι της Ελλάδας, και πάλι καλή σας μέρα και σας ευχαριστώ πολύ που ήρθατε εδώ για να ακούσετε αυτά που έχω να σας μεταφέρω από την πρεσβεία στην Ουάσιγκτον. For the benefit of those in the audience who do not understand Greek perfectly, although everybody understands some Greek when they live in this area, I will speak in English. But feel free to ask questions in Greek if you want later on. Before talking about economic and investment relations between Greece and the United States, let me say a few general things, make a few general remarks about the present state of relations overall between the 2 countries. As you all know, Greece and the United States have been traditional friends and allies. This is not something that we are saying easily. It's something that's actually the case. In Washington, where I work, every ambassador, no matter what country he or she represents, they will talk about their friendship and their strong ties with the United States, which may or may not be the case. But Greece is one of the very few countries in the world which, first of all, influenced the American War for Independence intellectually, and vice versa. The newly established United States, the newly established democracy, influenced very much and very positively the Greek struggle for independence. After that, and even before independence of the 2 nations, we had ties between the community thanks to Greek immigration to the United States, which started from this part of the country, Florida, that eventually covered all 50 states. On top of that, Greece and the United States have never been in opposite camps in any war or any armed skirmish or confrontation, major or minor, in their respective histories. There are very few countries around the globe which can claim the same thing. So this is something very important to remember, never lose sight of it. And finally, the 2 countries have a formal alliance, defense, military, but even more general political alliance, through bilateral treaties in the post-war area, and also through NATO. So the background is very strong and very solid. However, until fairly recently, and certainly after the mid-70s, after the tragic events in Cyprus in 1974, the political relations and the actual political, trade, economic exchange between the 2 countries was not at the level where it should be. And this was for many different reasons. One major reason being, of course, that Greece in the very early 1980s became a full member of the European Union, so attention was shifted there, union integration and all the things that Greece had to do in order to adapt. However, in the last decade, perhaps with the beginning of the recent debt crisis in Greece, relations with the United States started improving at a very rapid and a very marked pace. And this trend is continuing. This is something that's being shared by all governments that have been in place on in both countries. In Greece, we had different governments since 2010 and onwards, but all governments, no matter who is leading them, no matter what the actual composition of the government coalition is, share this strategic orientation. They want to make our partnership with the United States more meaningful, deeper, and wider. And the same, we found out, holds for the United States. Like every country in the world, like every embassy in Washington, we were uncertain at the beginning of this new administration. About 1 year ago, we had the inauguration, slightly more than a year ago. And we wanted to make sure that what we had moving in a very positive direction would continue to do so. So we embarked upon a very conscious and very thought-out strategy in order to make sure that we present Greece to the new administration in a positive way. So we had ministers and then the Prime Minister who came to Washington in 2017. Throughout the year, we had a multitude of high-level delegations from Greece, and the message was, in broad terms, the following. Greece is a reliable friend and ally of the United States. Not just a friend, not just one of the many allies, but a reliable one. And when you look at the map and you see who our neighbors are, you understand the value of the word, of the term reliable. Second, Greece values the strategic partnership that we've been enjoying with the United States and is determined to see this enhanced, strengthened, deepened. And we are looking into ways of making this possible. The traditional pillar of bilateral cooperation between the two countries was the defense sector and is being the defense sector. However, we don't think that this is enough. And we want our cooperation to cover new areas, or in the areas where we already cooperate, to make it wider. So this brings me to the main topic of today's meeting, economic and investment cooperation. In mid-October, the Greek Prime Minister, Alexis Tsipras, made his first visit as an acting Prime Minister to the United States. He spent 5 full days, and believe me, I'm talking as a professional here, for a Prime Minister's visit, 5 days is a long one. And it was split between Chicago and Washington. In both cities, he had full programs and many meetings, and I would say that around 2/3 of his meetings, of his conversations, revolved around economic, investment, and commerce issues. And that was a conscious choice. Why? First of all, we have a situation which we are not very happy with, and I don't think that our American friends and counterparts are very happy with. Namely, that for two countries which have been so close together, which are so friendly with each other, our trade volume is surprisingly low. Our trade volume in the last few years is around, total, is around $2 billion per year, if not less. And investment is even lower. At the end of 2015, where we have the last verified cross-check data about direct investment between the two countries, we see something that's paradoxical. Greek investment in the United States is double the size, roughly, than American investment, direct investment in Greece. This shouldn't be happening. Greek investment in the United States comes in the form of the presence of Greek companies in the cement industry, steel, aluminum, but also foodstuffs. Greek companies who sell a lot in the United States, and in order to make exports easier, they set up companies here. And American investment in Greece, its total value was under $1 billion, which is peanuts compared to what the potential is between the two economies. So we want to change this. We want to change this not only because we are a country in need of investment, but also because we want to diversify the source of our investment. We cannot shun away, we cannot stop investment coming, say, from China to Greece, especially if for one project, one type of investment, one privatization, only the Chinese show an interest to invest. We cannot say no, we cannot afford the luxury. However, we do not want only one or two countries to invest in Greece. We want more, especially investment from friendly countries such as the United States. The other reason why we are pushing so much on this topic is because finally, in the last year or so, Greece, the Greek economy, is beginning to make a comeback. I don't want to sound triumphal or unrealistic about this, but I want to stress that after 7 years of non-stop recession, and after a cumulative loss of 25% of the country's GDP, the Greek economy started recording steady growth. Not spectacular growth, but at least growth. The GDP is moving at a rate which is slightly above zero. It was not the case for many years. It was not normal, it was an exceptional circumstance in world chronicles perhaps, but it happened in Greece. Now it's being reversed. The other thing is that this trend seems to be sustainable. And I'm saying this based on the forecast of not only Greek statisticians, but also the official statistical services of the European Union, of the IMF, and also of the OECD. So we have some grounds for cautious optimism about the course of the Greek economy in the years to come. And then the message that we are also pushing in the United States, but also elsewhere, when it comes to attracting investment in Greece, is that now it's a good time for anyone or potential investor to come to Greece and invest there. Because the prices are very low for a country which is a full member of the European Union, a country which is a full member of NATO, a country with political stability, social cohesion and stability, despite the protracted economic crisis. I challenge you to think what would have happened in other countries around the world, including countries in Europe, in the advanced world, if they had 7 years of non-stop recession and a total loss of 1/4 of their GDP. This is something that's not happening even after a major war and a major loss of the war. This is in Greece, thanks to its society, thanks to its social nexus, thanks to the values that you know very well because you have transplanted and kept these values alive here, managed to at least remain united, intact, and stable. Greece continues to be a stable, Western-looking democracy. The political system is stable, we have elections, but governments change. There is always a peaceful change of government. There is never a question of you count the ballots and what the ballot box says, that's it, and everybody accepts it. Some people like it, some people don't, but that's the essence of democracy. You have regular, peaceful, and smooth transition between parties in government in Greece. And also, for a country under economic duress, Greece managed to pass fairly successfully and fairly quickly to a new system of parliamentary politics. From 1974, the restoration of democracy point in Greece, until recently, fairly recently, we were used to having one-party, strong, parliamentary strong governments. This changed. And it always takes time, and it always proves difficult to see a political system moving from an essentially a bi-party system to a multi-party system where you need to build coalitions in order to govern. At least two parties and not three or more. I know that in other countries, in other parliamentary systems, Italy, the Netherlands, for instance, this has been the case for decades, if not more. So they're used to it, they know how to work with it. And they can afford, the time to wait to build a new coalition while the previous government is still functioning and performing. In the Greek system, we didn't have that luxury, but we managed to prove that we can have a stable political system even in changing circumstances. I understand that there is bad experience from individuals and others concerning past stories, past experience, personal experience related to investment in Greece. And nobody is going to claim that Greece has traditionally been an investment-friendly country like other countries in the past. However, this is changing. It's not changing overnight. It's not possible to change these things overnight. But what is changing and supporting this conscious trend towards seeking foreign direct investment is, I would claim, number one reason is the high unemployment that we got with the debt crisis. The recent debt crisis brought the unemployment rate in Greece to levels which we have never seen in our lifetimes. Unemployment in Greece was usually around 10%, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. It sounds high, but because of this social nexus, this social protection system, informal protection system that we have among the extended families in Greece, it was manageable. But when it skyrocketed in record time to close to 30%, and it's still slightly over 20% now, this is definitely unacceptable and unsustainable. In the past, you could generate jobs with government spending, with domestic investment from Greek entrepreneurs, and also with loans from abroad. The situation has changed. We cannot borrow to finance consumption anymore. We borrow to refinance our debt. In fact, for some time now, Greece has primary budget surpluses, which means that we do not generate new deficits, we do not generate the need for new loans. We need new loans to repay older loans. And we're also trying to have the maturities extended and the interest rates go down. And there is another close area of cooperation that we have and we're trying to strengthen even more with the United States. The United States is a country which is a global leader. And thankfully, the United States understands very well that Greece is a country that the world community must not see only through the prism of economic performance. We have to take into account general geostrategic considerations in our area, the Eastern Mediterranean, a very volatile part of the world, which is going from bad to worse. So it's essential for the Western world, the Western Alliance, to have stable, reliable democracies in the Eastern Mediterranean. And Greece is one of them, the Republic of Cyprus is another one, and we have bilaterally and trilaterally with Cyprus very extensive, very strong cooperation with the other stable countries, the other Western leading countries in the world. Number one, Israel. I'll talk about it today because I don't want to take much time for that now, but I would be very willing, to talk to you about the big progress that has been made. I'll just say one thing, because I have to say it, particularly in the presence of Das Bilirakis. Das Bilirakis is the architect of the Congressional Hellenic Israel Alliance on the Hill. This is a congressional caucus. This is an alliance, bipartisan alliance of Republican and Democratic members of the House, co-chaired by a Republican, Das, and a Democrat, Herr Deutsch, also from Florida, and with a growing membership, which is providing fantastic support to us, but also to Jewish American organizations and also Israel. We're doing the same thing with other countries in the world, but we can cover this later if you want. But it's essential to see that the United States continues to have this vision for a country like Greece, a country which needs to overcome the financial difficulties, overcome the strains of this intense migration movements flows that we experienced in the recent past, and continue to provide stability in a very, very unstable part of the world. So, do you want me to continue with other things or stop?
No, we stop here. Yes, thank you.
And please feel
And Ambassador, thank you for the informative comments.
interrupt me
Thank you.
because I get passionate when I talk about these things. And if I
comments
see that
were-
there is an interest from the audience, I can go on forever. But
Your comments were so informative, we appreciate that. And now I'd like to ask Congressman Bilirakis.
No, I'm not gonna. No, I just, Mr. Nebraska, it's very encouraging, with regard to, what you're saying with the eliminating the red tape and then the bureaucracy. Because I've had several, people that wanted to invest in Greece, in the past. Very, very, very strong investment in Greece, and they've had trouble over the years. I'm not even talking about Greeks, Greek Americans. I'm talking about, I'll name Sheldon Adelson, who has the casinos in Las Vegas. As Greeks, we don't like to gamble. So, but he was turned off a few years ago, and he loves Greece. He was gonna make a $10 billion investment. But that has changed. I'm glad you focused on that, because that's very good. And, we have other Greek Americans who love Greece so very much and want to be helpful. And we need to welcome them, and that's why I think this forum is so very important. You did an outstanding job. And very comprehensive, and I appreciate it. How can we bring something here to, and I don't know how to do this, but a piece of history, antiquity, what have you, here to the Tarpon Springs area, and where it would encourage more tourism to the area, but also be helpful to Greece as far as revenue is concerned. Whether it's a permanent exhibit or a temporary exhibit, I think most of you would agree that would be helpful to both nations. Is that possible?
Congressman, this is one of the other subjects that we're going to.
Oh, okay, all right. Signal me. Okay, thank you.
If you have anything in regards to the economic development?
Oh, I've said most of it.
Okay, thank you. Consul General response. Any comments on the economic development?
No.
Okay, thank you. If you don't have any other comments, we'll move to the next item. Next item on the agenda is education, Greek studies at the universities and colleges. And we have educators here in this room. On this item, we need to find ways to work especially with educators from both countries to promote the Greek studies at universities and colleges. We're doing some of that already in St. Petersburg College. And Mr. Ambassador, we'll start with you again. If you have any ideas or anything that we should do. And later on, I'd like to ask to the podium Dr. Williams, who is the president of St. Petersburg College, to tell us some of the things that we are already doing here in our St. Petersburg College.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Part of my visit in the Tampa Bay area will be dedicated to education and the continuous attempts to the continuous efforts to keep the teaching of the Greek language alive and further propagate it among segments of the population which are not necessarily of Greek background. And I'll be having as many meetings as I can in my 1.5 days here, working days here, with schools, but also with universities and university professors to this effect. I don't think that anyone can be extremely happy with the situation of Greek language teaching at the present juncture. But I think that instead of trying to recriminate and find who is at fault for this, take a step back and look at what is happening and what can be done and in what new context. I'm not an expert on this. I've been in the United States on and off since my freshman year at college. What I have seen in the course of more than 40 years now, being in the United States on and off, is that this society, like many other societies, is changing. Not just the homogeneity. Of course the homogeneity is changing with generations, but also American society is undergoing changes. My first consular posting was, my first overseas posting was in Sydney, Australia. In Australia, we have, again, a very big, very vibrant Greek community and very high concentrations of Greeks as a percentage of the total population. But they also live in a country which has followed a different system in incorporating new ethnic communities in the society as a whole. Perhaps like Canada, they followed the so-called multicultural project, which did not only discourage the ethnic communities from maintaining their language, their customs, they actually subsidized them for that. And this was not happening in the United States. In the United States, the model was that of the melting pot. And of course, if individual communities wanted to preserve some their national heritage identity, they tried to do so, and they were not, of course, disallowed to, but I don't think that they were helped. But this is now changing. I see, especially in a state like Florida, that you have new languages being prominent almost at an official level. Talk about Spanish, of course, but who knows if this is going to be limited in Spanish in the near future or not. I also see a United States which is much more diverse than it used to be. You have large communities from ethnicities which were very rare to see less than half a century ago. And this is a big change. Historically speaking, this is a very brief period of such a big change. And you also have the progression of generations. And when it comes to the Greek community, maybe, we're at the beginning of a new phase where the young generations are putting more emphasis not in speaking Greek at home, but at being proud and expressing openly their pride in their Greek heritage in new ways. What helps with this is the traditional value that Greek society, Greek parents place on education, both in the old country and around the world where you have Greeks. Parents strive, first of all, to provide an education to their children. That's their dowry. If they can afford, to give them something more, a house to live or some money, that's secondary. But the first for Greeks is education. And that's why you see, both in Greece but also in the Greek diaspora, that each generation is better educated than the generation before. And also in countries like America, like Australia, that I know, the Greeks are among the communities with the highest percentage of people with a college degree or a postgraduate degree. This, in turn, provides for a generation with more confidence. I understand that for past generations, with a lower educational level on the average, things were not always easy. Tonight I'll be meeting with the local AHEPA chapter, and I'm constantly being reminded that AHEPA was not established in Chicago or New York, which would be the normal thing to expect for a major community organization or an Greek community, but in Atlanta, Georgia, in the 20s. Why? You know why. To protect themselves from bigotry back then. Well, this has changed. I'm not saying it has been eradicated. I know that there is no complete racial equality anywhere in the world, and certainly not in the countries where I've lived and visited. But it's a changing environment, I think, for the better, which maybe will allow the new Greek generations to express their pride, but also their willingness to give something back to the lands of the great-grandparents or the grandparents in a new way. Now, which way this is going to be, we'll have to see. I cannot tell you for sure. Maybe with community organizations that will lobby local governments, federal government, for things which are close to heart for anybody who has a Greek background or part Greek background. Coming to the specifics, I think it's very important to maintain the teaching of the Greek language and propagate it through schools, if you can do it, and I see that it can be done. I'll see more during the course of my visit, but what I hear, what I see is encouraging. There is a potential to make people with no Greek background interested in the Greek language and the Greek civilization, and the two come together. And also, when it comes to higher education, college, university level, again, I think that compared to the picture that we had, say, 30, 35, 40 years ago, the situation is much better in terms of the teaching of Greek civilization and Greek language in colleges and universities around the country. But this is a big country, huge population, huge area, and thousands of universities and colleges. It is not realistic to expect every college and every university to have a department, an active, vibrant department of modern Greek studies and modern Greek language. So efforts will have to be targeted to a few, and this is according to local circumstances and demand, local demand. At the end of the day, you see what interest there is, and then you decide. I'm glad to see that a very significant number of universities can maintain and do find funds to maintain this department, these chairs. I know fundraising is difficult because everybody, all of us, are to contribute to a multitude of different causes. But of course, this is one of the areas where I think that fundraising is fully warranted and should be supported. It concerns civilization, it concerns culture, it concerns the language, and it concerns identity. So this is something that we have to keep supporting while at the same time exploring different, new ideas for the future. And it's very important not to forget that when we are talking about Greek language and Greek civilization, we're not just talking about the language spoken από το παππού και τη γιαγιά στο σπίτι, and it's not just the language spoken by 10 million people in Greece and maybe another 10 million in the diaspora. This is a language which has been the vehicle for Western civilization since the antiquity, but also in modern times. Just think of how many new scientific words created outside of Greece are words that are based on the Greek root or a combination of two Greek words.
Thank you. Thank you. Congressman Bilirakis.
Yeah, very well said. And we do have the Greek Studies program in St. Petersburg College, but we want to enhance that. And also we have a Greek Studies program at the University of Florida, which in the early 80s we were very involved in establishing that. I had a forum, Mr. Ambassador, before you came, called Stand with Greece. And we did this in Washington, D.C. And we brought educators, we brought business people from Greece, and also we had Greek Americans speak up on how we can stand with Greece. And it was very successful. But I brought a metropolitan from Greece to speak about the church. He told me he came up with an idea. Now maybe this has been going around, so I'm not taking credit for the idea, but establishing academies in Elada, whether they're partnering with other universities throughout the world or just the Greek academies near historical sites in Greece to encourage students. I have a cousin that I spoke to the other day who lives in Greece, and he says, Greece is for the world. After all, it was the international language during Christ's time. So that's something maybe you can respond to. And also the Turkish threat. A lot of the early settlers in the Tarpon Springs, we were sponge divers. We came in 1905, most of us, great-grandparents. but we're concerned about the Lalakos, the Turkish threat. And I know we didn't want to get into too much politics, but I think this is on people's mind. You don't have to address it now, but before we adjourn, I'd like for you to respond to that. I know it's real, and we have to take it very seriously, but if you could comment on that, I'd appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Consul General Sparks, any comments?
Yes, what we need, of course, tradition is good. This is what keeps us together. But many people here, because they are living for a long time here, they have forgotten that also Greece has evolved. It's not the Greece they have left back in the 60s and in the 70s. Greece has now a modern European culture, and it has distinction all over the world, in Europe especially, but also all over the world. So what we need is to provide a new image for Greece, bringing this kind of new production in arts and sciences everywhere, to show it here to both to the Greek Americans, of course, and to the Americans. As far as I know, Florida has a lot of people, art lovers, that would be really delighted if they have this kind of events coming from Greece. So this could be, let's say, a field where the American, the Homogenia, could work together in order to promote this new image of Greece.
Well, thank you. Education is so important. That's the vehicle, that's the tool that we can progress and go to the future. I'm so glad that we have such a good educators here in this room. I'd like to acknowledge the principal of Tarpon High School, Ms. Bilirakis, who just walked in. I just saw her. We in progress to have a program to exchange the partnership between the data partnership between the Tarpon High School Congerss with the high school academy. So later on, I will ask Ms. Lalakos to say a few words about the program and when we went with that. We start talking about culture, and I know Congressman Bilirakis, that's something that he really loves, and we need to promote the Greek culture and bring in national art here in our area especially. We are very fortunate to have the Libo-London Museum here, part of the St. Petersburg College. We can actually have exhibits and bring art from different places, and I know there's a lot of art in Athens, in Greece, and we can actually exhibit here in Tarpon Springs. Do you want to comment with that? I know you will want.
Yeah, absolutely. The culture and traditions, if we can bring them to Tarpon Springs, I want it to be a mutually beneficial situation where it would help Elada and the area as well. Phil Hellenes appreciates, our customs, our traditions, our culture, and of course our glossa is so very important to us and our triskia. But we have a wonderful lady here who's done an outstanding job, and she's not from our area, but she's done an outstanding job in promoting our culture. And these nights that we have, the Greek nights on the sponge docks on the Bilirakis Avenue, it's an outstanding thing, and we're so grateful to you. Do you want to say a couple words?
Sure.
Yeah, come on. You don't mind, do you, Chris? Go ahead.
No microphone.
Take the microphone.
Over there.
Yeah, come on. You could use mine if you like. Okay, all right.
It's wonderful to have you here, Ambassador, and great to see Consul Sparos again. Of course, since culture is my business, I think it's extremely important. And part of that, as we were just discussing, is education. And I'm going to talk about culture a little bit, but I also feel strongly about education, that there's really a greater need to address modern Greece and the modern Greek language in our educational institutions. As Consul Sparos said, Greece has moved along, and as the ambassador said, it is a linchpin in the Mediterranean, our ongoing friend there, but we need more people who understand the modern history of Greece and the current culture of Greece. And this could really be brought out far more in our institutions. I don't really see that being done to the extent that it could be in the Tampa Bay area, and I think USF and St. Pete College would really profit from a greater emphasis on this topic, and also the culture of Greece. Ancient Greece is wonderful, it's very important, and it's part of our modern culture that has come into the present. But as far as I know, no ancient Greeks actually came to Florida. But we certainly have a lot of Greek culture, and more things like contemporary art exhibits or art exhibits about ancient art, but also maybe things having to do with the sponge industry, about musical instruments, which are of great interest here. Any aspects of Greek culture would be great for museum exhibits.
More of Greek independence, 1821, people are very interested in that.
And my family was personally involved with the Armatoli, so I'm all for it. So yes, I think that is a wonderful idea, and there's a lot of art involved with that too. That would be, I've seen it in the modern Greek history museums in Athens. It would be great to get some of that stuff over here. But please, Ambassador, I hope if you can attend any of our events, and of course Consul Sparos, like Night in the Islands, we would love to have you at these events. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a short response to a very serious topic raised by Congressman Bilirakis, namely relations with Turkey and the Turkish threats. I've spent 7 years of my professional life in 2 different postings in Ankara, so I've dealt with the issue extensively. And it's one of the issues that no matter where you are as a Greek diplomat, you deal with it, either more directly or less. Same with our military people, no matter where they are. Same with everybody, and especially the people of the islands who live very close, basically, to the Turkish coast. Balance in the Aegean is shifting. And it's shifting because Turkey has embarked in an arms race for years now, which Greece is not willing and is not able financially to follow. Having said that, Greece continues to have credible deterrence and will continue to do so. And this is why one of the major ongoing discussions that we have with authorities in Washington is the modernization of our Air Force. Most of our aircraft is American built, F-16s. We cannot replace them because of budget constraints, but we are going to upgrade them. And just to make sure that a minimum balance over the Aegean is still there. We are raising this issue with the administration and with Congress, and we will continue to raise this issue more and more clearly in the weeks and the months to come. Because the situation is what you see. It's alarming. It's not a situation that leads to complacence. So I just want to make sure that the message is clear. We are not interested in an arms race or an arms confrontation with any neighboring country, including Turkey. But we have a large, extended, and very difficult territory to defend, including many islands, and many of our islands are within visual contact with the Turkish coast. And Lalakos, both of you, you know what I'm talking about. We're not going to allow for any thoughts to be entertained by Greek territory. And another happy thing, another happy conclusion out of this recent financial hardship that we went through in Greece is that the Greek armed forces continue to be a very strong, large, considerable, and very well equipped, very well trained armed forces. Greece has traditionally been a country with a large military for the size of the population, and this is because of very specific reasons. And we continue to do so. We upgrade, we modernize, especially in terms of training, but we also keep a defense posture that's unmistakable. Greece is not a country which will put down, its defenses, because we cannot afford to. We have to be careful, we have to be vigilant. We live in a very difficult part of the world. We are faced with a difficult neighbor, and we know how to deal with them in a calm but very determined way.
Thank you, Ambassador Lalakos. I wasn't prepared to talk about this particular subject, but it's dear to my heart. Our sister cities are in the GNC in that area, and they constantly threaten their security from the neighbors. And our ancestors here, most of our ancestors, people here, the ancestors are coming from those islands. So we are very, very concerned. And as the ambassador says, we want to have peace there, but also the neighbors must respect the borders of Greece. Thank you very much for that, but because the time is getting very limited, we want to go to public comments for...
Mayor, could I say something I forgot before? The Consulate General created a cultural calendar which includes all events of Greek interest, ranging from festivals to whatever you can imagine, from regional associations to lectures about modern culture, about archaeology, about anything. All of you are invited to send us details about these events so that we can promote them in a way. And you're always welcome to frequently look at it, because you might see things of interest you never thought of about Greece.
That's great. That's great. They synchronize our efforts. Thank you. I'd like to start with the public comments on these items that we talked about earlier, the economic development, education, and culture. And I want to begin with Dr. Williams, the president of St. Petersburg College, to tell us about St. Petersburg College.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. Esteemed platform guests and those in the audience allowing us to speak for just a brief moment. I would like to go back to talk about what can we do to improve economic development, education, and the culture of Greece, especially in Pinellas County. One of the challenges that I've seen over the last 7 years is that it's not just important for the Greek culture to know about the Greek culture. It's important for those outside of the Greek culture to know about the Greek culture, to value the culture, to understand the history and the direction that Greece is going. And one of the things that I learned as when I was provost here is that the city council took me around to really see the city, to meet the people, to understand the plight of the people, and to make sure that we all know what Greece has brought to America. And we talked about as young people and how our young people have lost their way in appreciating and valuing the Greek culture and becoming so Americanized. And I think that it's going to be very important for those who are not Greek to understand and value the culture, to recognize what it has brought to America and how it has helped us change and grow. I know my life changed. I've learned so much about Greek pride and about the work that you have done and what you have brought to this country. I've learned how to eat baklava and to understand what it's made of and what you do with it. I've learned the dances and how we like to celebrate each other and our many accomplishments. And so if we're going to improve economic development, if we're going to improve education and infusing it into our higher ed and our K-12, if we're going to improve the Greek culture on both sides, in Greece as well as here in the United States, then we all better understand, recognize, and value the Greek culture and what it has brought to America. So I needed to say that before I got started. As far as St. Petersburg College goes, I have been involved in Tarpon Springs since 2007, and I have done some of my most impressive growing during those times in understanding other cultures and groups. But St. Pete College has always taken its pride in all cultures that come to the institution, but especially Tarpon Springs. We have always been involved in the sister cities. We have convened a lot of our sessions and discussions about our young people and culture at the campus, and we do offer the Greek language. But after hearing our platform guests and what was stated today, I think we've missed the mark. I think there's more that we can do to make sure that others understand Greek life, the goals, and where we're going. So we need to have more than a course at St. Petersburg College. We need to infuse the culture in our culture. We need to educate all of our folks about the Greek culture and what you bring to the table. I think we're missing that part. So Mr. Mayor, we're gonna get that right. Every 2 years, we make sure in study abroad that we take at least 20 to 25 students to Greece. We go to Athens and Congerss, and we have our study abroad program. The next one that's coming up is this May. In 2018, we'll be taking 2 faculty members and 20 of our students to Greece. They'll go to Athens, and they'll also go to Congerss. So they'll learn a lot more about that culture. But it is going to be our new provost's job to make sure that we not only help our Greek students be more proud of their culture, but help our entire student body recognize, value, and understand the Greek culture and what it brings to the table for us. I know that I've grown by learning, and I know that others will grow by learning as well. I would say it is extremely important that we do not lose our culture and what Greece has brought to us. I think young people are doing things different. They are using social media, and they are doing things in a different way. But there are a lot of pieces of our culture that we just can't lose. There are a lot of, I think, traditions that I have been most impressed about the Greek culture on, that I hope as we continue to progress as a culture, we not lose those pieces. There's a lot of rationale about the history and what we bring to the table. And so I look forward to continuing that partnership. I know that soon to be Dr. Davis will be able to share a lot more detail about what Tarpon has done since I have been provost at the Tarpon campus. But I'm looking forward to us moving forward. You brought some good points. I saw some on video in your speech, so I hope I can get a copy of that because that will help me with my board of trustees. So on behalf of St. Petersburg College, our board of trustees, welcome. Thank you for what you have done to help us.
Dr. Williams, thank you for your partnership. And now I'd like to ask the Honorable Bilirakis from the State Senate to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor, Ambassador, Consul General, my colleague in government, Congressman Bilirakis had to leave, and I got to catch a flight myself to go back to Rhode Island this evening at 7:30. But it's a pleasure to be here. And this area, as ladies and gentlemen, as you know, is going to probably be my second home. We've been here since 2016 with my wife, Dr. Lalakos, who's a doctor in education, and I also want to welcome Dr. Williams from St. Petersburg. Ladies and gentlemen, 2018 is going to be a very important year for here in the United States and in Greece. We have a lot of initiatives, and I know the ambassador spoke highly of economic development. As you know, this September in Thessaloniki, the International Trade Fair in Greece is going to be hosted by the U.S. United States. And Ambassador Pyatt has stressed the fact that it's very, very important to get U.S. companies, especially here in the great state of Florida and Pinellas County, to participate in this important economic trade fair, one of the most important there is in Europe, because it solidifies the fact of Greece being important to the Balkan region. And I know that Minister Papas is going to be here in the first week of February on an important roadshow invited by our State Department, who's going to be touring San Francisco, LA, Boston, New York, and to stress the fact, and this is important, to get companies here in Florida to invest in Greece, because it'll help with the Greek youth. You get an American company to come to Greece to manufacture American products, to sell them, not just in Greece, but to employ the Greek youth and also to the region, to the very important region of the Balkans. And also, Doctor, that you're here, in education is a very, very important issue. This coming March, on March 1st, the state of New York, the Maritime Academy, with the leadership of Minister Bilirakis and our delegation, is going to be signing an agreement in Athens with the Greek government, a bilateral agreement with the Maritime Academy of Hydra and the State University of New York Maritime Academy. Very, very important, because it's going to bond Greek youth in the maritime sector, which Greece is a leader, and with the U.S. And that's very, very important. And those are two issues that I want to touch upon. Also, especially the ambassador touched upon how important our relationship with Greece is, and especially the concerns of Turkey. Right now, Turkey is fighting a war with the Kurds in northern Syria, which could resonate to more problems in the region, like the ambassador stated, but also having the importance of our U.S. defense with Suda Bay being important. I visited Suda Bay this past summer and saw the highly communication between our U.S. government. But also, lastly, we also had the Admiral Bilirakis, the Joint Chief of Staff, meeting in Washington with a lot of our colleagues, our congressional delegation, Congressman Bilirakis, and also our state legislators throughout our state. Well, very important, ladies and gentlemen, 2018 is an important year. It's an important year here for Pinellas County, state of Florida, to bond those ties with our mother country, Metinelava. Excuse me, Doctor, I'm just going to say a little bit in Greek. Κυρίες και κύριοι, ένα μεγάλη χαρά που είμαι ξανά εδώ πέρα μαζί σας στο Tarpon Springs, μαζί με τον Δήμαρχο, μαζί με τον Council General, που πρέπει να παλεύουμε πάρα πολύ και κάθε μέρα, να μην ξεχνάμε την πατρίδα μας, να προχωρήσουμε με μεγάλη δύναμη για το 2018. Θα είναι μια important χρονιά. Ευχαριστούμε.
Because the time has been expired, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the panel and all of you for attending this special forum today. And I'd like personally to thank Ambassador Lalakos for participating in today's panel. And on behalf of myself, the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs and the people of Tarpon Springs would like to present you with the key of the city, and it's an honor for us to do that. Congratulations. Thank you. This symbolic key is to tell you how much we appreciate your work, your involvement with our area, but also to tell you that our sister cities are very important to us, and we want to thank you for everything you do to help the residents of our sister cities, which they are Kalimnos, Simi, Halki, and Larnagan of Cyprus. Mr. Ambassador, this key also tells you that you are now available. You now have the key that you can actually come as you please with the seat of Congressman. We've always been. I didn't get a chance to thank our Congressman Bilirakis. He had to leave, but he's always with us to help us and to provide us a service and to represent us to Washington. We are very grateful for your service. And also I'm very grateful to Consul General Bilirakis for his services to our community from the day one when he came down. He's always been a very good partner. And I'd like to thank you all for attending today. It's been a very informative session. Thank you so much. Guys, can you hold on? Please? Thank you. The ambassador wants to say a couple words. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for this great honor. You give me the key to your city and the assurance that I'm always welcome here. I'll be using this exhortation. I hope to visit more. Let me also thank you for organizing this discussion with distinguished members of the community here. And on my part, let me give you a small gift from Washington. You don't have to open it here, but it's the book of an exhibition that took place last year in Washington at the Museum of National Geographic, entitled The Greeks. And it was an exhibition of artifacts from 22 Greek museums, covering a big span of Greek history, from prehistorical times until the Hellenistic times. And then there's, of course, the modern history that hopefully we can cover, and hopefully the exhibition will also come to your area.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well,
After I get a chance to read it, we're going to place it at the library where it's going to be available for all the residents to read it as well. Thank you so much. And thank you all for coming.